And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all can be with us. Have a special guest that's joining us today. As you guys can probably see on the screen here, we have award-winning author and historian Tina Siemens is back with us. I'm going to go ahead and connect with our audience over on Instagram. We welcome you guys in. And we're going to also connect with our friends on Amazon. Tina is the author of two books you guys can see here. We're going to talk to her about that, her year. And we welcome those tuning in on Amazon Live. I appreciate you guys being with us. If you guys are new to us on the Amazon platform, welcome. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button. You see it either here in this corner or down below. You also will see these two books with another one to come in 2025 by our next guest. Award-winning author and historian Tina Siemens is back with us. She's the author of this book, Seminal, Some People Never Give Up. I'm going to highlight it for you guys on Amazon there. But also her second book that just won another award, The Little Sandals That Could. We're going to highlight for you guys as well. I want to talk to Tina not only about the recognition for these two books, her love of history, but also let you guys know what's coming in 2025 with her brand new book. Tredonia, hello to you over there on IG. Good to be able to see you. Tracy Glass, good to be able to see you. But Tina, welcome back to the broadcast.
Thank you again for having me. What an honor. It is truly always exciting to know that is on my agenda to be live with Cyrus Webb.
Well, look, I appreciate that. So, Tina, this is exciting. We're wrapping up this year with us finally meeting in person. After all of this time, I got a chance to meet Tina actually in Fayetteville, North Carolina, neither place that we had been before. I hadn't been there. Tina hadn't been there before. We were in town for Chosen Pen's literary awards and achievement gala that they had there. And what was so cool was we got a chance to spend some time together, got a chance to meet Dr. Taz, another member of our CMG family, and Tina's book, The Little Sandals That Could, actually won an award at the event. So, Tina, I want to begin there. What was it like for you to see the response to The Little Sandals That Could?
Well, it was such a surreal weekend. Of course, I traveled with one of my daughter-in-laws and both my granddaughters, and for them to partake with me, I told them that just being nominated was such an honor already. And then to get the reward, that was just like the cherry on top. So it was just a beautiful weekend, not only meeting you in person, but so many others that we are friends on Facebook and the kind of on the same groups, and because they're authors, they're just kind of speaking the same language. To be in the room full of authors, all just telling their story and being there, it was such a beautiful weekend. I will forever enjoy thinking back on that.
Yeah, me too. A lot of, shout out to Chosen Pen. It was a beautiful event the whole weekend, like you mentioned, Tina, and it was so well put together. You wouldn't have known that was their first one. That was their first, literary awards gala they put together. So, but it goes to a bigger point for you, Tina, and that is about the power of history. Because again, as I mentioned, people got to know you. You and I first connected because of this book, Seminal, Some People Never Give Up. Now, of course, you have The Little Sandals That Could. A third book is coming in 2025. What has it been like for you to share your own family history with the world and to see people connect with that?
Well, just like you said, this was Chosen Pen's first. All history had that first. Every piece of history in the world had a beginning, and that is why it is history. And so because things move on, we're every 24 hours gives us a new day. So yesterday is today's history. And so for us to be able to know history and then to use that as tools or as the vehicle to drive us into the future, it's just such a powerful thing. Most people often think history is boring. It's dates, it's places, but it's so much more. And there's so many layers of history, like an onion being peeled back. There's layer upon layer. There's your own personal history, and then there's family history, your community history, the world history. So there's just so much to be harvested from history, and that takes us into the future.
Yeah. And Tina, I thought about this when I was prepping for our show today. I've never thought about this before in my conversations with you. What has it been like for you to think about the history that you're making in your family by being an award-winning author, of being the author of 3 books, have you been able to really think about the history that will be written about you and what you've done?
That is a powerful thought. Just to know, like the whole reason I started Seminole, Some People Never Give Up, was to have that account for my children and grandchildren,
Mhm.
never thinking that it would be a book for the world to read. And here it is. It's been absolutely a mind-boggling journey, but I'm every day I am embracing it more. I love that I had the opportunity and that God has chosen me to write this part of history, to keep it alive. And so I pray that if somebody writes about me in the future, about the first in her family to get a GED, or the first to write a book, to have a published book, that they will look back on my life and say, she used the tools that were given to her and
Mhm.
making a positive impact. And so every one of us has that opportunity to leave that mark in history. And I'm just grateful that I have had the opportunity and continued that.
Right, right. How did you get over the fear of being the first, Tina? I think for a lot of people, I think about for myself, there had not been anyone in my family who had written a book. There hadn't been anyone who did what I did when it comes to broadcasting. And I didn't really think about it at the time. I did understand that most people didn't understand what I was doing. But how did you get over the fear of being the first and still doing it?
I think I work well with not going out of the ordinary. I
Mhm.
love forging a new pathway. I love exploring the unknown. And for me, I think my family knows that I am just that person that if I don't have an answer, I'll go look for that. I
Mhm.
sometimes joke that I'm like the yellow pages. People will call upon me, like Tina, do you know something about this? And it's an array of subject. So I think for me, getting over the fear is doing what I love,
Mhm.
because I love helping people. I love helping people understand things that they might have a question about. And so if I can do that, then that's a light that lights up the room. Uh, and where there's no darkness, there's no fear. And
Yeah.
so by just doing, I think the reward is so great for me to be able to uh, forge a new pathway that takes care of the fear. Yes, we do things that are scared, but if
Mhm.
we do that for the love of helping somebody else, then that just kind of goes by the wayside.
Right, right. I love what you said about kind of being that person. My family does me the same way. And when I tell them I don't know something, Tina, they said, "Oh, yes, you do." I'm like, "No, I really don't know." We can try to fight it out together, but I don't actually
Yes.
know. So I think that's funny. But Tina, to take it a step. Oh, and Chris says, "Today is tomorrow's history." Love it. That is a great reminder for all of us. And I think too now we also have a bit of history of Tina with the new book again. And I think this is so fitting as we're wrapping up this year, Tina. You began the year for our audience just to remind them with Seminole being recognized at the beginning of
Yeah.
the year, and now you're ending the year with the little settlers that could. Talk to us about looking back at this Tina, the little girl who was coming to a new place, having to find her place in the world. What was it like for you to think about as you were writing the little sandals that could?
My husband asked me this weekend, "How did you come up with that title?" And I
Mhm.
said, "The little sandals that I wore as an 8-year-old was the only thing that I truly, clothing on my back was as a necessity. But for us growing up, shoes weren't. And so these little sandals that I wore them with such pride. And they were on my feet every waking moment, and they were washed and cleaned every night and sitting on my bed in the morning
Mhm.
so that they would be ready. So I just know that those little sandals, they walked me into a life that I had no clue that it would take me to 2023 and have that in a storybook. And so these little sandals, they were the only thing that I could take with me that had true value to me. when we immigrated from Mexico to West Texas in 1977. And so for me to look back and see the journey that those sandals started for me, it's like night and day difference from what was back then to where I am today, being on live Amazon doing an interview. Like the change that has happened in my life is mind-boggling.
Yeah. To talk about that change even more, even the way you've approached social media, and I have to brag on you a little bit, Tina, because I mean, I just think about how when you first really started doing video, I know it wasn't something that you really were comfortable with, but you
Mhm.
were willing to take up the challenge. And then I look at you over the weekend, you're not just doing one video, you're doing two videos. you know, I appreciate the one you did for the magazine. Of course, you did another one for the Wild Journal that you're a part of. I want to talk to you about that too. Have you been able to appreciate that, your own personal growth, as you've been kind of sharing your story?
I'm embracing it more and more every day, but again, for me to be able to be associated with others like-minded is just such a privilege. And for me to be able to be a part of the groups that I'm a part of, that just gives me the confidence that if they can do it
Mhm.
and I have them as my role models, then I can certainly do it, because every human being has the same opportunities if they will just take advantage of it. And so
Yeah.
for me to have gotten over the fear of being seen, I'm totally comfortable with in a room full of people, but to be
Mhm.
able to make a video all by my own and put it out there on social media for people to view it 1,000 times, that that just took a little bit extra fear,
Yeah.
and but I'm overcoming. And I loved what my mom always said: if she had a hard time, then she would go on her knees and pray about it, and then she would overcome. And that is part of my subtitle in Seminole: some people never give up. And so for me to be able to do that, which I write others to encourage others to do,
Mhm.
is just very liberating.
Yeah. I want to talk about something else that I appreciated. I didn't want to put your granddaughters on the spot, but I mean, here they. I thought it was so appropriate, Tina, that in this book,
Yeah.
Little Sounds That Could, that your grandchildren get to be a part of this success with you. For those who haven't seen it, Tina shares photos from her family. You guys can see them there in the kitchen, and also that beautiful family portrait there. And there's others, even recipes in here. What has that been like for your grandchildren, Tina, to see with what you're doing, and to be able to see the recognition that's coming from it too?
They love being a part of it. And that I feel is how I can get the next generation interested in, is making them part of it. And
Yeah,
so for them to take pride in, this is not only my Oma's story, but we're part of it. And so for
yeah,
me to take them every chance I get, I think it just evokes the yearning for them to be a part of that. So for me to know, and now this coming year, I want to really step up my game of getting them personally involved with me, with doing, asking them some questions, being online and things. So
mm,
I love involving my grandchildren, because we grew up grandparents, children were seen and not heard. So we
yeah,
didn't get that much recognition from our grandparents. So for me as a grandma, to involve them, show
mhm,
them what has worked for me, and like that, they're 10 steps ahead of me, what I was
mm,
when I started in their age. And so it is such a joy for me to include my grandchildren with things that I do, in the award that we are reaping together. I
yeah.
will I will never stop doing so.
Love that. Jesus Black Man, hello to you. Good to see you. Thank you so much for the compliment. Appreciate that. Hello to you, Teddy. Good to see you over there on IG. Angela Anderson, hello to you. Angela is also featured in the anniversary issue of Conversations Magazine. So is Tina Siemens as well. I'm so proud of the 18th anniversary issue. And Tina, I appreciate you sharing your video about, and I tell people the story. Again, that's my history of it starting
Mhm.
literally in my parents' living room. Me having
Exactly.
this idea, starting what was a blog initially
Mm.
of these interviews, and now to be able to celebrate 18 years as a publication is really something. Now you're gearing up for something really big for 2025. So talk to us about the third book, Tina, and what audiences can expect.
It is, of course, history. It's a powerful story known worldwide from the last Comanche chief, Quanah Parker. And so it'll start where his mom was kidnapped by the Comanches as a little white girl near Waco, Texas, and how she grew up to be among and chosen as a Comanche warrior's wife. And she bore the three children of who the world knows about as Quanah Parker. I know John Wayne did a movie called The Searchers that was loosely based on Cynthia Ann's life story. So I am starting with that story. But the amazing thing about history is I was able to make a personal family connection with the Chief Quanah Parker. So that is going to be such fun telling that story of how my blood relatives started something 100 years prior to me entering the United States. And now here I was allowed to find that connection through history and continue telling that story. So the powerful Post Oak mission story will be one that I will thoroughly enjoy sharing with the world.
Yeah. And Tina, for those who do not know, not only, of course, are you a lover of history and a student of history, you literally started a museum. The museum's turned one this year. Talk to us about that, because you've been able to bring in young, old, different groups to be able to not only to demonstrate things with them, but also share history. What has it been like for you to see the response to the museum?
It has been overwhelmingly positive. We've had an amazing year at the museum. We do classes. The name of the museum is West Texas Living Heritage Museum, and the word living in it, I really focus on that part because history is not dead in some library books. History is alive because we
Yeah.
continue, unbeknownst to many people, they will do things in their everyday life, whether it's traditions, especially with the holidays coming up. Traditions is so part of what people are doing in this season. So
Hmm.
what they do not know is those traditions started in the past by somebody in their family. And so they're continuing those traditions, but it's truly only history. And so for me to do that living part in the museum is to bring back those living history traditions that we may have forgotten, especially with gardening and canning and self-sustainability.
Hmm.
That is our ancestors did all of that. They had their own gardens. They didn't go to the grocery store for everything that they are eating or consuming. They grew
Right.
it, they canned it, they did it. And so for me to do that in the living as the living part in the museum, it brings in the crowds where we have 150 children at in one day come through, and I can share with them what their ancestors did, and their eyes just light up with such joy experiencing what they did. And so if they can put on a Comanche headdress and stand inside of a teepee and know that their own history is connecting them with the teepees, what child doesn't play cops and robbers or Indians and warriors? And for
Yeah.
them to be able to go inside my museum into a teepee wearing a headdress and just feeling the history alive in their own little bodies, it is such a joy to share with these children. And that, again, is the a baton to the next generation of loving history.
Such a great point. Such a great lesson. Tina, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that your books continue to get the recognition they deserve. I'm so excited that people are finding out about you and the work that you're doing, that I think is so important when it comes to not only to preserve history, but also to share the importance and the power of history. But also, I love what you said in this conversation. I hope our audience takes that away as we're wrapping up this year, that we are literally making our own history. So Tina, I want to ask you, For people who are just finding out about you or maybe thinking about their own year, what do you hope they will do when it comes to preserving their own history and that of their family?
Well, the timing is just as perfect as it can be. You are gathering friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
Take a notebook. Encourage your children, encourage your grandchildren to bring a notebook and do little interviews. It can be across the dining room table, but
Mm-hmm.
find out, first of all, I always encourage children to do their own little family tree. It can be their grandparents from both marital and premarital sides, and their great grandparents if they can. Get those dates, and when you find out that this was a true person that my grandma knows about, like that's your great grandma, your great grandpa, and then ask one story. What was their occupation, or where did they live? Where were they born? There's just such basic uh, family tree that just evokes these people were real, and
Yeah.
they are my lineage. And so I would just encourage the audience, take that time this holiday season to build your family tree. If you, even as adults, they have no idea, where was grandma born or grandpa, what were they doing, what were the hardships that they overcame. And so if we are building those things as family gatherings are happening, then they will just be able to carry that forth. And there's so many tools available to everyone in today's society with the genealogy sites and things that they can truly build their history. And so I would encourage you, take the moment by just simply building your family tree. Right now they may just be names, but believe me, when you start digging, they had a life, they lived a life, they made part of America, they made part of the world that we
Mm-hmm.
now know. And because they did that, we have the freedom and the opportunity to do so today.
Yeah, such a great thing. Tina, congratulations to you again. Again, everyone, Tina Siemens, an award-winning author of Seminole, Some People Never Give Up, as well as The Little Sanders That Could. Both of them available here on Amazon. The third book is coming out in 2025. Tina, let our audience know, how can they stay connected with you?
Thank you so much for those who have, but those who would want to, you can go on all social media as Tina Siemens, and SeminoleTheBook.com is where you'll find a lot of information. I'm looking forward to hearing back from you.
All right, Tina, so proud of you. We're definitely looking forward to our next chat together in 2025.
Sounds great. Me too.
And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.